All right. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. As today is going to be our class session,
Walaikum salam.
and we are not expecting any more people, so we can start. And I would like to start with where we left last time. So what we can do is we can quickly go through a demo for site-to-site VPN connectivity, and then we'll carry on with our slides for the next topics. I hope everyone can hear me clearly and there's no disturbance or background noise. And I'm going to continue. If there's any issue, please do let me know. If everything is okay, I'm just continuing. Okay. So let me start sharing the screen. We're not going to start with the slides first. What we are going to do is complete our demo, which was left last time, the VPN demo, and then we'll carry on. So what I've done, I've just prepared the setup, and this setup I'll just share with you what I've done exactly. So we are going to see a site-to-site VPN connectivity. Let me explain you the scenario first. So in this scenario, you can see that we have on-prem data center on the left-hand side, right? Can I use the cursor or something here? Pointer. It should be pointers in here. Okay, I don't see it. Let's try to focus here because this is important for you to understand the scenario, the requirement, and then the configuration how we are going to set up this site-to-site VPN connection. And this is a real time experience and the real hands-on experience what you are going to see because this is exactly what happens in the real time. It's not just uh, from the books and to the books. It is what exactly is being followed and practiced when it comes to site VPN connectivity. And this I'm just trying to simplify the concept, though we're not going in detail for every bit of it because there's a lot of explanation, there's a lot of theory behind each encryption protocol and hashing algorithms and so on. I'm just trying to keep it from the administration perspective. From if you are an Azure admin, and if we are expected to build a VPN tunnel side-to-side connection with other tenants or other on-prem scenarios. So what you might come across and what exactly how you can implement this connectivity type. So that's what I'm trying to focus here. High level concept and then the configuration, how you can achieve that. So this is the requirement. This is the business requirement now, wherein you have on-prem scenario. You already have your data center set up. You have your network, servers, and everything is running there. And you also have Azure DC. Azure. You're using infrastructure as a service, and you have set up a data center on Azure as well. What does it mean when you say data center? That means you have everything, all the infrastructure related components deployed on Azure. And why you have done it? There might be use cases. There might be a business case wherein you have gone to the Azure and build the setup. So it can be again, uh, you know, both the sites can be part of the same company, same organization, or you might be these might be different organizations wherein they might require to share data or share information and access applications from each other. So in that scenario as well, you might go with the site-to-site VPN. So you might have an Azure setup already in the cloud, and you might also have on-prem data center. So this is what will happen. So you will basically have a device. There's a purpose-built devices for VPN functionality. So you can either have a dedicated VPN device, or as I mentioned, a router and the firewall can also function as a VPN gateway. Similarly, you have Azure. So here, if you see this whole setup, you can do it yourself. You can build yourself from the scratch. So if you follow these steps, so if you look at here, what I've done, I've created a resource group. We have seen every one of the step many times, and I don't think you should have any difficulty in building this whole setup, right? So we have seen step by step. We have understood each and every component, what exactly it means. So if you let's look at this side of it. So here we don't have an on-prem a true on-prem scenario, right? So what I'm doing is I'm depicting our another Azure site as on-prem data center. So if you look at the left side is our cloud DC, and the right side is our on-prem DC. That means our on-prem data center. So I need to establish a VPN connectivity between these two sites. Though both are in Azure here, even though if this sites in even if you take this again this example, uh, in place of on-prem data center, let's say you have Azure data center, again Azure setup in a different region. So if it is a west, here we are taking an example of East US and the West US. So your cloud DC, which is Azure DC, is in East US, and your on-prem DC is basically in West US. So this is considered as a West US. So when you say the region, you're talking about the data center where the Azure data center is located, right? And both the data centers are physically apart, east and west, completely. You can see they are in different locations. So this Azure DC is the east location, and this is the west location. So you know the process, how you create the resource group. You can create it in advance, or you can create while creating the virtual network. So this is the exercise again I have followed. You can see here you have the whole steps. Create a virtual network. While creating the virtual network, we are going to create the resource group as well. You're creating gateway subnet. You're creating VPN gateway. We have seen these steps until here. Today we'll be seeing next steps, and those should be straightforward and very quick. This was the only step which took around 45 to 50 minutes for deploying the VPN gateway. So that's why what I've done is I've prepared all of this and left these things for us to see in the demo. So we'll be seeing that. So yes, so again back to this. So what how I've prepared the setup? I've created a resource group, selected the region East US, created a virtual network called Cloud VNet, and this is our IP range, the whole range for this site. Create subnets. I have created two subnets, one called servers. This is the subnet I've created where I'll be keeping my virtual machines. Gateway subnet. You have seen the process how the gateway subnet is created. You don't have any control on the naming of this subnet because it is predefined by Microsoft on Azure. So when you're creating a subnet, when you select gateway subnet, it comes when you select the VPN gateway subnet, it gives its name automatically, and you have an option to change the IP range. Then what I've done, I've created a virtual machine called Cloud VM, and this is deployed in this East US region in the Cloud DC. Then VPN gateway. So we created this last time. We followed the procedure, the steps in the article, and your VPN gateway is named as Cloud GW. That means Cloud Gateway, and that will have an IP address, a public IP. This is the public IP assigned to it, and then the rest of the configuration we have to complete. So we have create after this what we have to create. Let's focus on one side. So let's say Cloud DC. We are preparing the Cloud DC for side-to-side connectivity. We have done until here. And now what we have to do is in the Cloud DC itself, in the Cloud DC, we have to create something called local network gateway. So if you go back, which is actually this naming is a bit confusing for macro because we are talking about the remote gateway now, where we want to connect. So if I go back to the scenario here, I am on Azure DC. So this is my VPN gateway. And for me, this will be the remote gateway, right? So while configuring the VPN here on side to side, you create a VPN gateway here. That's one thing. Okay. And you also create something called local gateway, which basically refers to the remote gateway, this IP address. So you are actually trying to put here the remote gateway IP address where we want to connect. So 172 at 185, 140, 53. So you have to get the public IP address from the customer, or if it is your own on-prem setup, from you would know that IP address. So that's for the IP address we need to mention here. And then we have an option to create the VPN connection, wherein we have to provide phase one and phase two settings. So you have seen in the slides, when you talk about side-to-side VPN, there are two phases of VPN configuration. So if I go back to the slides, I'll show you that. Okay, let's go to VPN quickly. Okay, so you see here we have side-to-side connectivity, right? So in this you have two phases of configuration. I'll show you where we have that information here. Okay, we don't see to have that. I'll explain you that in a minute. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. So when you are configuring the side-to-side VPN, there are two phases of configuration, phase one and phase two. Phase one, wherein the tunnel gets established. So in the phase one, between two gateways, the tunnel will be established, and this is for just authenticating the devices to each other. And then you have to provide the parameters for the phase one, the authentication, encryption, and the hashing algorithm. All the settings you have to provide during the phase one setup. And then phase two, in the phase two, this all happens in the background, but you have to configure the settings. So I have prepared one document here. This is from the real example. Share that as well with you. Side to side, you can turn up. Okay. So when let's say we want to establish a tunnel, my company wants to establish a tunnel with some other company to share the information and to have integration with our systems. So this is what you require. In a nutshell, I'm just showing you everything. What is required? So when you want to build a side to side tunnel, first information you need is the VPN device information and the public IP addresses. So if you see here, this you can use as a template for collecting this information. So what is the VPN device? So you see here there are two columns. So you can see consider one side is your setup and the other side is your customer setup. Okay, or one side your on-prem and other side is Azure. So it could be any, as I mentioned you here you can see in this example, Palo Alto is one of the company which builds the firewalls, which they are known for the firewall products. I mean, they are into the network security. So they have their firewall, which can act as a VPN gateway. Similarly, you have you can see on the, so let's say this is me and my other business. So we are trying to establish a business-to-business relation and the communication here. So this side-to-side connectivity is sometimes also called as B2B connection, business-to-business connection, right? So this is my side of the configuration. Let's say I have the Palo Alto firewall as a functioning as a VPN device, and my partner, business partner, the other side is Checkpoint. Checkpoint is another security company which builds the firewall. So they are known for the firewall products. So that's the first information you can gather. Then IP address for the tunnel. That's very critical information. Again, public IP. Without this, you can't have this site-to-site connection established. So you'll be gathering this information. You will have your IP. So you have to basically share this information with your customer. So consider this Palo Alto is on my side, and Checkpoint is on the business side, the other side, the business partner side. So I'm filling this information, this template, and telling my partner to use this information to establish a site-to-site tunnel. So that's the first information you need. Then phase one, where tunnel establishment happens. So in this, these are the key parameters and the important details which you have to share and provide. So here, for example, this is my side of the configuration. So I have to mention IKE encryption. Phase one uses IKE V1 or V2 protocol. So IKE V1 and V2. There are two versions of it. So in each of this protocol, you have to provide this details. What authentication method you want to use? First of all, that's the first thing you have to select between you and the client and your company and the business partner. So you can use either the password. You can password will function as a pre-shared key. We'll see while uh, setting up the VPN tunnel, right? So this can act as a password which you have to share with your partner, and they will have to enter the same password there on the other side. So while creating the VPN tunnel, encryption method, you want to there'll be different protocols available. There'll be a drop down list. You can choose which encryption method you want to use for this phase one tunnel establishment, and there are many options. You'll be definitely going with the latest and the highest option available. Hash algorithm, same again. What hash algorithm you want to use? There will be a list of uh, options available, and again, this has to match whatever you are telling, because you are actually providing a connection to your business to connect to your systems and share the information, or it can be mutual. So you have to agree on these parameters between uh, this has to be agreed between the partners, between two parties. So these parameters has to match on both the side. This is the information you need. Okay, this is an example which is happening in the real time these days. So you will use AES 256 as an encryption method, hash authentication SHA-256, Defi element group 5, and encryption key lifetime. This is the lifetime of the key which you are sharing. So there will be a refresh. This key will be refreshed every 8 hours also. So you can agree on this. These are the settings. Then phase two is the second phase wherein the actual data encryption happens. So phase one, the tunnel will be established between the two sides. Phase two, the actual when the data transfer starts happening between the sides. So side one from my side to the other side. So in that case, what encryption model you want to use? Again, method you want to use AES, SHA, and there are other parameters as well. So you really have to study this to understand what each of this means, but this is all theoretical. And what I'm trying to show you is the practical setup configuration with steps. So you would require these details. So that's what you have to collect and you have to provide to the other side as well. So then lastly, you will have to decide what traffic you want to allow between your sites. So this could be your site wherein you say, okay, this is my network which I want to allow access to you guys, or you have to provide. This is why it is important that your IP range should not overlap the IP range of the other side, other party. So these should be different, or in that if you have the similar IP ranges on both the sides, you'll have to make use of NAT technology in that case, network address translation. So in a nutshell, this is what you need for establishing a VPN site-to-site tunnel, right? I'll share this document as well with you. Let's go back to our scenario, right? So this is what I've done. So we have done all of this. This I did prepared this setup, cloud DC setup, and I've also prepared the on-prem DC setup, which is exactly the same. Well, the only difference you see is that this is in West US, and this has a different IP range. It has a server subnet. It has same as gateway subnet, same as here. It has a virtual machine. It also has a VPN gateway, and this its public IP address is this. And then we have to configure this part now, the last part, local gateway on cloud DC side and local gateway on the on-prem side. So we can start either here or here. It's all the same. So let's complete the cloud DC setup first, and then we'll do the configuration on the next one. So we'll use this. I'll just rename this one. We are referring as cloud DC. This is outside. Okay, I hope this is clear for you. If you have any doubts on the setup, please let me know. Right, so we are continuing now with the remaining steps of the cloud DC. So where we are starting, I've done here, create a virtual network. You know the steps. We have already done that many times. I've created a subnet. I've, I've also created the VPN gateway as per this. And then uh, here we are now going to create a local gateway. Don't get confused when it says local gateway. Actually, that is referring to. So I'm here now. I'm configuring the east side. So you just follow this. Don't get confused. So Cloud DC is our east US location. We got the virtual network. We got the subnets. We got the virtual machine also created already. We have got the VPN gateway also. So I'll show you that VPN gateway from the portal. I'll show you the resource group. So you can see that this resource group, the Cloud DC, has all the resources which are created under this resource group. We have the virtual network, right? We have subnets. Subnets it doesn't show here. It is if you go to the virtual network, you can see that there are two subnets I've created: server subnet and gateway subnet. Right. So this name is given by the Azure by itself. Then I've created a virtual machine in this resource group, Cloud VM, and it's part of the ECUS. And what else we have? We have a VPN gateway as well. Virtual network gateway. This is our VPN gateway. If I go to this VPN gateway, you will see that you have a public IP assigned for your VPN gateway, which is 48.194. So let's compare that here. 48.194 is in the scenario, in the file 48.194. This is my public IP address for the VPN gateway assigned. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a local network gateway, which defines the remote gateway basically. So let's go back here. I hope this is clear. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now right away. Otherwise, I'm
It's
going to
clear, it's
continue.
clear.
So now what we are going to do is we are going to create a local network gateway. We are exactly here at this steps.
This Cloud VPN will be the same normal VPN, no? Oh, sorry, normal VM only, like how we are creating.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
just
VM
name
is
it as Cloud VM. Okay, okay, okay.
exactly, exactly, just for demo purpose.
Okay, okay.
You have seen all of this. You have done it many times. So it's just the name which is different here.
Okay, okay. Got it, got it.
Fine. So I'm going to name it as on-prem gateway, or I can say on-prem remote gateway. create. So it's going to be part of the cloud DC, which is where we are our VM VPN gateways and sorry, so I'm just toggling between these two screens right now. Okay, the information file and the portal. So I'm referring this resource group as a cloud DC here. It's in East US, and this local gateway name I'm going to give it this on-prem remote gateway, so you don't get confused, right? And what is the IP address of the remote gateway? This is the IP. Okay, what is this IP? If you go to the scenario, I'll show you the whiteboard 172.185. So I'm configuring now this VPN gateway. I have already done that. Now I'm creating a local gateway here, but this local gateway is actually referring to the VPN gateway on the remote side,
On-prem.
right? So 172.185 is the IP address of that gateway. So I've already filled that information here so that it will be easier for us to follow. So now I'm going back here. I'm going to put this IP address. Okay, and what is the subnet? Now, what is this address space? You need to define. Okay, so there are two things. I'll go back to the whiteboard again. Here, you have to define what is this network, which network you want to access from here. So basically, my objective is that this VM, which is in cloud DC, should be able to communicate with the VM here, right? This is what I want over the IPsec tunnel. Now, right now, there is no connectivity, there is no connection. Both are independent setups. So when you're configuring your site-to-site VPN, you're defining the local gateway. Then you also should define the subnet which you want to allow access over this network. So that's going to be the remote subnet again, 10.2.0.0/24. This is what I want to allow over the VPN connection. Then only this VM can access that remote network. I hope that's clear. So if I go back here, so in this, I have to also define what remote subnet. Okay, my remote subnet, you see here, this is my remote subnet. I want to access this subnet from my cloud PC 10.2.0.0/24. That's my subnet. So all this information you have to share and you have to have that when you are building the VPN tunnel. So I'm putting that IP range here, review, create. That's another step which we have completed just now. So we have configured VPN gateway, we have configured the local network gateway. Then we have created the VPN connection. Okay, that's happening. Now we go to the next step. This one is just for the information that if you are doing a site-to-site connection, how you configure the VPN gateway on your on-prem setup. So there's no steps in here. We're going straight away to the create VPN connection. And in this, now what we are going to do is create site-to-site VPN connection between your virtual network gateway and your on-premises VPN device. Excuse me. We can skip this. We need to understand that. You must establish a tunnel between each VM instance. Okay. Create a connection by using the following rules, following values. So it gives these values. So you see here, now we are entering into the phase one configuration, wherein we are giving a shared key, right? So we'll see here how we do that. In the portal, we go to the connections on the page gateway page, VPN gateway connections. I think this is the one. Okay, so we have an option here, create connection. Now, what are the details we have to provide here? This connection is going to be part of the cloud DC. And what kind of connection you want here? We are looking for VNet to VNet connection. You can also do that, but we are not using this IPsec kernel for VNet to VNet connection. We are using site to site connection basically. Name of the connection, you can name it anything. I can say cloud DC2. That will be that name will be actionable. Cloud DC2 on-prem DC. Okay, that's accepted. And it's going to be in the ECUS. Next setting. Here we are selecting the gateways here. So remember, you're on which side right now? You're on the cloud side. You're configuring this connection. Let me begin this. Okay. So you're configuring this side of VPN connection details and everything. VPN gateway, local gateway you have created. Now you're creating a site-to-site configuration. So we are saying our virtual network gateway is cloud gateway, and our local network gateway for us is on-prem remote gateway, right? So that's what we have explained here. This is your own gateway and local gateway, which refers to the remote cloud gateway. And what is the authentication method we want to use between these two sites? We want to use the shared key. You have two options here. Either you use the shared key, which is similar to the password, or you use the key vault certificate. You can use the certificate authentication. So what is the password you're going to give here? You can give any password. I'll say, I'll just name it site to site. You can name it anything. So this is the phase one of the configuration, phase one. So that's where now how do you decide which IC V1 or V2 to go? It's always recommended to go with the latest version. IC V2 is definitely the latest and the the available version. And again, you might want to shift to IC V1 if the other side of the VPN gateway, which is your remote side, does not support V2. That's the scenario where you want to switch from V2 to V1. So it is important that when you go here, when you're deciding the parameters for IPsec phase one configuration and phase two configuration, the protocol and the settings, both gateways should support those protocols and the configuration. And it is, and these days, if your devices are latest and up to date to the latest version and so on, almost all devices support these parameters. So you can always go ahead with the latest protocols available, unless there is a need that okay, on-prem your on-prem device is an old firewall which you're using as a VPN gateway, or you have a VPN device, dedicated VPN device, and it's not been upgraded and it supports only IPv1. Then that scenario you might want to switch back to IPv1, because if you have IPv1 here and IPv2 here, your tunnel will not come up, your connection will not come up. So here we are going with the IPv2. As you use Azure private IP address, we are not going to check this. We are not looking into these details right now. So what is the IPsec policy we want? We want the IPsec policy default. Let it be default and use policy-based traffic. Let's see what does the lab say here. So here we are saying we're using ABC123. Let's use this one. If that fits with our password. Okay. So it says here, but you can use whatever is compatible with your VPN hardware. The important thing is that the values match on both the sides of the connection. That's what you have to make sure. Whatever settings you're choosing here, in this, those values should match on both the sides. Create connection. So let's go ahead and that's everything here for the connection. Review and create. Click on the validation pass. So you can see here what we have done so far. So we are creating a side-to-side IPsec tunnel, and I have named it as Cloud DC to on-prem DC. This is my side of the gateway, and this is the remote gateway, and we are using IKE V2 and default IPsec parameters. Policy-based traffic selected disabled. Then there's a timeout setting and so on. So, and this is the P-share key, which you have to share with the other side, VPN connection. So let's create this. So we have come to this stage. So once the VPN connection is created, you can see here, shared key, all this information is here. If you just read, uh, after doing this lab, seeing this demo, you can, when you do the lab, you will understand this here, when you do it yourself. All the settings we are keeping default, everything, leaving it as is. Preview create, and the connection will be created. So let's see. Once that is done, then we can verify the connection, but not until we complete this remaining steps on the other side as well, right? But for us, both are cloud in the cloud only. We are just depicting the other side as on-prem data center. So, but it will be the same process. Either you complete your configuration detail first, or the other party does it. But at the end, you both have to have this configuration enabled and activated. Then only your VPN tunnel, your VPN connection will be established. So let's go now and complete the rest of the stuff for the other one. So now we are going to our this one, the on-prem DC. Cloud DC part is done. We have configured everything. Let's move this part here down. What will be my remote gateway for the on-prem? Tell me, guys. I want to hear from you. Now I'm going to configure my on-prem data center. For me, what will be the remote network? Which network I want to access from here? Connect?
48.194.
No, not the IP address. That is the IP address, remote gateway IP, that's fine. But there is also a remote subnet you have to mention. Which subnet I have to mention here?
Okay.
Remote subnet will be this one.
10.1.0.0/24, yes.
So vice versa. So your
Yeah.
local gateway configuration is having the information of the other side, basically.
Other side, yes.
That's what you need to
Uh,
understand. When you're creating a local gateway, it will have a public IP address of the VPN gateway on the other side, and a remote subnet of the other side. Similarly,
okay.
now this part is done. We are doing this part now. Let's go to
Okay.
the
This private IP on the on-prem is here we for example we'll keep the same 10.2. Same network, and sometimes some scenario it will be different, correct?
I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, private IP which you are mentioned here 10.2.0.0, and on-prem you mentioned 10.1.0.0. It can be anything, any private IP, correct?
Any
172 also
private,
can be
can be
taken.
any
Yeah,
private
yeah,
IP.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, okay,
Can be anything.
noted.
Okay. So let's go ahead and create a VPN connection now on the other side. Which side we are referring now? Now we are going to configure on-prem side. This side of the configuration, Cloud DC side, is all complete. We have configured everything. We have configured the VPN gateway, local network. We have defined which is our VPN remote gateway, which is a remote subnet. Now we are configuring this part. Here, what we have done so far, we have got the network, we have got the subnet, we have got server deployed, and we also got the VPN gateway is configured. Now we are going to create the second part of the configuration. So here we have done already. There's a VPN gateway deployed. Now the second part we are going to create a local gateway, which is basically the remote gateway. That's what I mentioned. This is a bit confusing. So your local gateway here, on-prem data center will be actually referring to the remote VPN device IP and the public IP address. That's important. So this are the public IPs. Without public IPs, you can't even reach to each other. Right? This is what I'm defining. And the remote subnet for me, it will be 10.1.0.0/24, which is this subnet. Right? This is what we are doing now. Get VPN connection again. Okay. So you go to the VPN gateway, VPN connection. We have one connection established, created already, cloud DC to on-prem DC, right? So you can see here, it shows you peer one, peer two. That means peer gateway and remote gateway as peer one and peer two. So we are creating another connection now, and this is my on-prem DC connection. Which I'm going to configure now, and it's going to be a site-to-site IPsec tunnel. And what is the name I want to give it? I will name it on-prem to cloud. On-prem DC to cloud DC. That's the connection name I'm using, and this is my on-prem data center is in the West US. It's a different region, right? That's correct, right? On-prem, on-prem is in West US, right? So that region is there. We have defined the region. Next, we are going to select the configuration now for my on-prem data center. This is my VPN gateway. Okay, so my VPN gateway is on-prem gateway. That's why I've named. See, I've named. You can see all those devices here. I've named them specifically so that you understand what you're doing. On-prem gateway. That's my on-prem gateway, VPN network gateway, and my local network gateway. For me, for on-prem, it will be actually on-prem remote gateway, right? So that's where you have the confusion, but I hope I'm trying to simplify it and you understand it what we are doing here. So let's use the same password. This is what I have mentioned you. You have to use the exact same password, reset key, and this parameter should match. So we are going with IPv2 as well here. If you go IPv1, our connection will not be established. And IPsec policies, you can use default, you can go custom. This is where you see exactly what I was explaining you. I phase one, phase two. All these parameters, you can modify this. Encryption, integrity, defuelment group, all this can be modified. And if you modify this, you have to make sure that on both the sides, those are exactly the same. It should match. We're going with the default, review and create. Okay, so that actually completes our configuration. Now we will be at the step of verifying it VPN connection. Give me 2 minutes wait. I will be back with you. We have some error here. What do you say? On-premise failed addition to system the underlying API that might be helping. Okay, there might be some limitations on the subscription as well. Okay, I think there's a limit on the subscription. That's why it has failed. And unfortunately, we want to be able to see the real testing, right? So let's see what we can do here. But I've explained you exact process what we have to follow. VPN gateway, VPN connections, and let's say straight connections created. Okay, that might be the subscription limitation, I'm sure. But this is the process. You have seen it. The only thing remains is the testing, basically. You should be able to log into the virtual machines and test the connection. So this is everything from the side-to-side VPN connections. If it is a subscription issue, we can't really see this in action. So let's try to. Okay, so we'll continue with the slides now, and remember what I've explained you. That this is the exact this is the scenario where you would require the VPN side-to-side connection, and these are the steps exactly. If you have your trial subscription, I guess it will allow for you to use that. Uh, you might be having $200 of worth of credit. You might try this. So yeah, that's where we can stop for now. And VPN connection, side-to-side connectivity. Then we try the point-to-side connectivity. We have seen one part of it. Let's see at least we can do the configuration part. So now let's say which side we completed. We completed the cloud business side. Now this VM, which is in the cloud, I want to access this VM because as an administrator, I told you, in order to manage this virtual machine, you have options like either you enable RDP on VM directly with the public IP address. Second option is you use Bastion host, Bastion configuration. Third, you can use if you have the side-to-side connection, you can access the VM from one site. Fourth, you can use the point-to-side connection. So let's try to deploy point-to-side connection. So as an administrator, I should be able to access this virtual network on this cloud network and manage this virtual machine. Can probably kind of cover that up and then we can continue the slides. So let's see what configuration it takes. So this is the scenario exactly. Your virtual network. You already have a VPN gateway with the public IP address. Now we'll configure the client. We'll do the configuration for the client configuration, client side settings. So prerequisites. Okay, generate certificate. Certificates are used by Azure to authenticate clients connecting to virtual network over a point-to-side VPN connection. Once you obtain a root certificate, you upload it here. In real-time scenario, you will have to get the certificate. You can purchase the certificate. You should be knowing that you can purchase these public certificates and you can deploy it in your scenario. So we don't have the certificate here. Create client certificate, generate client certificate. You can use a self-signed root certificate, maybe. Okay, let's see the configuration path. So in Azure portal VPN gateway, we can use the same VPN gateway. This VPN gateway can be used for site-to-site connectivity as well as point-to-site connectivity. So basically, this VM with this this laptop user, what you're seeing here, this user can also be connected over the internet, anywhere in the internet, right? So let's say I'm the user who is working over the internet. I have internet access. All I need is the point-to-site connection to access this network, the whole Azure network and the virtual machine in it. Now, this was the first configuration what we have seen was about the site-to-site connectivity. Now this will be the point-to-site connectivity. These are the two different setups you have here: site-to-site, and this is point-to-site. Let's configure this gateway or cloud gateway. So we have to go to the specific gateway here. So I'm going to the cloud gateway. And in the cloud gateway, you have an option here, point-to-site configuration. Right, point-to-site configuration, and we use configure now. Configure now on the point-to-site configuration page, you will see the configuration box for address pool. In the address pool box, as the private IP address range that you want to use, for example, if you add the address range connecting VPN clients, receive one of the IP address from this range. Okay, the minimum subnet is 29-bit. So what exactly we are doing here? Uh, so this VPN client and the client machine connects to your VPN gateway, it will get an IP address. It needs an IP address. Which IP address it needs? It already has a public IP, right? When you have internet access, everyone on the internet has a public IP address. Now, you're trying to access over the public network, you're trying to access the internal network, right? This is your internal network, the private network, and whatever resources you have in this private network. So our resource target resources, this is what we want to access. So your client machine, the VPN client, this will be configured as VPN client. So when it connects to your VPN gateway, it will get an IP address assigned, and that will be a private IP. So you have to decide what IP range you want to use for this, and it can be different than this one. So that's what it's saying here. So what range you want to use? Let's say I want to use 192.168.1.0/24. That is the range I want to use for. So anyone who is connecting over internet, point-to-site connection, all these machines. So when I use /24, I can have 254 machines, which can 253 machines, which can connect over internet to my VPN connection. So that's depending on the number of machines you have, number of clients you have, you can use that. Okay, then specify the tunnel and authentication type. So what kind of authentication you want, you'll see here. Point-to-site configuration, address pool, using SSL, Open VPN SSL authentication. You have an option here. Different option again, point-to-site, as I mentioned, there are different protocols, different encryption options available. Add another public IP. If you have an active mode, we don't have active VPN gateway. Okay. Authentication type. Now, what kind of authentication you want for this VPN? You can use these three options. You can either use Azure certificate, you can use radius authentication, or you can use Azure Active Directory authentication. So do we have Azure Active Directory here? We don't have any Azure Active Directory configured, so we can't use the. So let's try to use the Azure Certificate Authentication. Okay, upload the root certificate, it says. In this section, you upload public root certificate data to Azure. Once the public certificate data is uploaded, Azure uses it to authenticate connecting clients. The connecting clients have an installed client certificate generated by the cluster tools here. So we don't have the public certificate available, so we'll have to try these steps using. So this is what you have to do. So I'm installing PowerShell script to generate a self-signed root certificate. PowerShell. Okay, I think the certificate is created now. Copy paste that. So this root certificate is created. Now next, replace P2S root certificate with your desired certificate name. Okay, that's fine. Certificate is valid for 5 years by default. Create client certificate to create time certificate. Use the following script. Right. So these are the two certificates which are created. Okay. Step to export the certificates. So we go to run to the certificate manager. This is the place where you see all the certificates installed on your machine. So we'll go to the current user personal certificates. So personal certificates. And these are the two certificates which we created. Point to site P2S root certificate and dial certificate. So what we have to do, we have to export this now. Personal certificate, locate your self-signed root certificate, right click and select all export. Okay. So we are exporting the root certificate first. Then next. And are you selecting export? Then resolve. Okay. Then we say export the private key or not. We'll export with the private key and the certificate type CER. Then we give an option here. CER option. This is certificate, and we are going to save it as root certificate. You might be new to the certificate thing. It's a different subject altogether. We're just trying to see how the VPN connection works. So you're basically using you have seen the authentication mechanism, right, for VPN. Either it supports the certificate authentication, Radius. If you know about the Radius setup, Radius server, it can use that authentication as well, or it can use the Azure username and password, the entire ID username and password. So you can use either one of these for authenticating point to site connection. Okay, now we got the certificate, so we can export. So let's continue with our steps. Like that. This one we were here at the point site. We got the certificate now. We can continue. Let's go back to our, so you can see Azure root certificate. We will open that file. So that's how does the certificate look like. This is a certificate. You can open this in text. We need the content of this certificate actually. Of that. So we'll continue these steps here. So we are here, root certificate. We'll mention the name of the certificate. This exercise looks a bit easier to follow. So we'll give it a name. And this here we paste the content of this certificate. So this file content should go here. Copy the above notepad key and paste on this public certificate data, right? Yeah, that's okay. Let's continue. After saving the configuration, download the VPN client. Okay, so that's I think everything. Save it. So this oh, data client. Maybe this content what we are copying should be here from here to here. Okay, so let it do this job. Configuring it. So as I was explaining you point to site VPN connection. So this is one scenario. Even an on-prem scenario, the very common VPN client to site VPN or the point to site. This is called point to site VPN. And it is also called as client to site VPN. That means the client to site VPN. So actually you're enabling your the remote users to connect to your network. So it can be either to your cloud network or it can be to your on-prem network. But this is a very common scenarios. These are the common scenarios where VPN is used. So it is saving the configuration. Let it do that. Once it is it saves the configuration, what we have to do is we have to go and download the VPN client, which we have to install on the client machine and connect and test the connection. So let's see does that with config on time. Okay. Our point-to-site VPN configuration is done. So if you're back here, you can see that the same VPN gateway can act as a site-to-site connection gateway as well as point-to-site VPN connection. So what we have to do is download the VPN client, download it. How do you download it? So let's go and see what we have in this VPN client. That, you have different versions here available. So which one you're using this article? So on the VPN client is installed submission by selecting VPN profile. Windows setup and lead to connected VPN. So we have multiple VPN options. Azure VPN, Open VPN, Azure VPN. Let's see what we have here. The solutions available from Microsoft. Let's see what we have. So again, you might not, see the deployment of each and everything what you're seeing in the demo set or in the slides, all the solutions. But you should be aware that there are solutions available from Microsoft for every scenario. So in this one, what we will see is configure platform as a service compute options. There are multiple options for platform as a service. You can use app service plans. You can use containers as well. You will see in this slides. Okay, so here we have the workflow, basically a flow where you can decide which compute option you need for your platform. Azure provides many ways to host your application code. The term compute refers to the hosting model or the resources that your application runs on. Okay, this article helps you choose a compute service for your application. So you can see here, if you need a full control on your server, you will definitely have to deploy a virtual machine. And then on that virtual machine, you can do whatever you like. It's like your own server, right? If you don't need that, because definitely if you based on the uh, product which you choose here, the pricing will be accordingly. The virtual machine is the one which gives you the full control, but again, the cost of the virtual machine will be higher than the other products which you're seeing here. So you have an option to host your code, your application code on the virtual machine. It will be under your control, full control. You can have multiple applications running, multiple different programming languages, or you can choose the Azure App Service, which you can use for hosting the web applications or mobile applications. You also have an option for the containers. If you're using microservice architecture in your application deployment, you can go for containers. And for managing the containers, Azure also provides you Azure Container Apps, which is similar to Kubernetes from Google. So there's a Kubernetes orchestration platform available from Google, which is now, I guess, is owned by some other company. And advanced container orchestration, you have Kubernetes, Azure Kubernetes as well, AKS. So we'll see what are these options, each one of these. There's a quick comparison here. Okay, you can see that if you need the full control, look at these points here. I'll use the pointer. VMs, it gives you the full control. It's legacy friendly. That means you can run any type of application which you're developing or building for your environment. And least cloud native. That means not all the applications which you are building, which are legacy applications, are cloud native. It doesn't support those applications might not support all the cloud authentication mechanism and so on. Containers are lightweight, portable, better density. You can deploy the containers for mainly for applications which are developed on microservices architecture. AKS best for large scale microservices. Application service fast and simplest way to host web apps. So choose VM for control, containers for portability, AKS for scale, and app service for simplicity. So these are different products available for Microsoft for hosting your applications. And you can see there's a comparison based on the application composition, density of the application, number of nodes you need, state management, and web hosting. So this mainly, helps the developers to choose the product and what they require from Azure. So here, what we have here is we're discussing about Azure App Service plans. What is an app service? App service is a fully managed platform as a service that allows you to build, deploy, and scale web application quickly and easily. So if you just want to deploy application, for example, you're building an app for a specific industry. Let's say you're building a banking application. You want to host that application. You don't want to manage the whole infrastructure. You just want to use the platform which is provided by Microsoft in order to host your application and provide it to the customers. Make it accessible to the customers. Think of it as a ready-to-use platform that hosts your web app, mobile apps, or APIs on the cloud. You don't need to worry about the underlying server or infrastructure. This is what the Azure app will help you with, right? So Azure App Service Plan, there are different plans available from Azure App Services, which defines basically the pricing tier, the resources. This is similar to the virtual machine sizes. So App Service Plan, you can compare it with the virtual machine size, wherein it gives you different resources available on each plan. Here are the some of the plans available for Microsoft. You can see pricing. There's a different pricing as well. So you have a free plan wherein you get to host 10 mobile or API applications free of cost. It gets limited disk space. This is good for testing. If you're just practicing or doing some experiments, you can use a free app service plan and do make use of it for your experiments. Then you have shared development testing plan in which you can host or deploy 100 applications. You'll get 1 GB of disk space, but you don't get the deployment slot or instances. So you can see similarly, there are different plans available. So what is deployment slot here? You can see that there's a deployment slot available from standard, premium, and isolated plans. So basically, deployment slots on only the standard, premium, and isolated plans offer deployment slot, allowing you to deploy a different version of your app without downtime. The deployment slot gives you an option to create multiple version of your application, which you can deploy into the real-time scenarios, wherein you can have your application code in development, staging, and then deployment. So you can do that. So this is more application oriented, and the developers should be aware of these options available on Azure App Service plans. Implement Azure App Service. Key points: you can build and run web, mobile, and API apps in the cloud. Fully managed platform. No need to worry about the servers or infrastructure. So if you compare this with the virtual machines, when you're deploying the virtual machine, you have to plan your Azure infrastructure very well, right? You have to decide what when you have to start from the virtual network itself. You're building your virtual network. You're creating the subnets, different subnet for different servers. You are implementing security controls and so on. So you have to have the whole infrastructure ready for creating your virtual machine, then running the application on top of that virtual machine. Whereas in Azure App Service plans, you don't worry about the infrastructure. This is what is the difference, right? When we have seen in the beginning, Azure, every cloud provider, they offer you different service models: infrastructure as a service model, platform as a service model, software as a service model. In infrastructure as a service model, most of the responsibility belongs to the customer. They have to build their own infrastructure on the cloud and manage and maintain it as they do for on-prem scenarios. Then when you move on to platform as a service, this is a shared responsibility, 50-50 between the customer and the cloud service provider. So you have to only worry about your application code and the configuration around it. Whereas you don't need to worry about the virtual machines where it is running or building the network and so on. And when you move to the third service model, which is software as a service model, and in that service model, everything is taken care by Microsoft. Only a little bit of controls are with you about your data, how you want to manage the data on your SaaS platform. So that's what this is in the middle, basically. Platform as a service in the middle service tier, you can say in the Microsoft cloud service offering. So this is required for fast deployment and scaling. Focus on app development. Azure handles the underlying resources. Supports popular languages. You can see .NET, Java, Python, and more. Provides enterprise grade security and compliance. So you can see you can host any type of application on the Azure app, ASP.NET, Python, Node, PHP, WordPress, and so on. So this is what it is. So your company you might have combination of these services. You might have infrastructure service for certain uh, use case scenarios. You might have platform as a service for development mainly, and you might also have software as a service where you just want to consume the services, the software from the cloud service provider. So it's very common these days. Companies are having all these three service models. More they're using making use of it, and that's how it works in the enterprises. Create an app service plan. You can create the app service plan from the portal. We'll see that in a lab, the demo. There is some problem with my mouse. Okay, I guess I have to change my mouse. It's not working. Okay, so we can create the app service app service and check. There's a demo for it. Deployment slot in Azure App Service lets you let Azure App Service let you run different version of your app at the same time without interrupting the live versions. It is useful for testing, staging, and production environment. So you can simply have different deployment slots available, two different version of applications. So you can go in stage wise for trapping. You can have different code running here for staging. Maybe you're trying some new feature. So after the staging environment, you can switch over that plan with the production. So that will be seamless for the end users to see how your application, basically the application experience will be seamless. Create custom domain. We will not be looking at this because we don't have a domain name. It's with us. Container apps. What are Azure Container Apps? Azure Container Apps is fully managed serverless platform that allows you to run containerized applications without worrying about the underlying infrastructure. It's designed to simplify the deployment and management of application inside containers. Has anyone worked with the containers? We have seen a brief introduction about the containers in the beginning. how the containers compare with the virtual machines. So virtual machines have a full operating system with its own memory management installed with the associated overhead of the virtual device drivers. So if you compare containers and the virtual machines, this is how it looks like. So you have, if you look at the virtual machine, you basically, this will be your hardware. This consider this one block as your server. So your server hardware is there. There will be a hypervisor product running on the server. If it is a Windows, Microsoft, for Microsoft, you have Hyper-V. There are solutions, hypervisor solutions available from different vendors. There was one from VMware. Now VMware is taken over by Broadcom company. So just for your information, there is a hypervisor running, and on top of that hypervisor, you can create the guest OS. What does the guest OS mean? The operating system which runs on the physical server itself is called host OS, and the virtual machines which you run on top of it is considered as guest OS. So you have the virtual machines particularly running on the physical server, right? So you have the guest OS running, and then on top of that guest OS, you can have the application running. So when it comes to Docker, the containers, basically, you have your hardware, your host OS. You don't need the hypervisor here. And then you will have a Docker engine. This is one of the container platform, or there are other open source platforms as well. So you run the containerization platform, and then on top of that, you run the container. So what's the benefit here with the when you compare your VM to the container? You can move the containers easily from one host to the other host. Because the application which is running in the container, it carries its own bandwidth files and the supporting files. So you can easily move your container from one server to other server, irrespective of the platform where you're moving it, it runs seamlessly. Understanding container images, Azure Container Registry is a private container image registry which is used to store and manage container images in Azure. So this is similar to the GitHub repository, wherein you have a, a publicly available repository where all the applications, open source applications are shared and available, right? So Azure has its own Azure Container Registry where a container image, the container image is lightweight standalone executable package of software that encapsulates everything needed to run on it. So Azure has its own repository where you can have the container containers available. This is how the container runs in the Azure platform. You have the virtual network, you have the container host, and then you can run the uh, container and the application inside the container. Manage containers with Azure Container Apps. So Azure Container Registry is there. This is the repository for having the containers stored. And we have some labs actually. We'll look at the labs and then we will go to the next topic, which is Azure backups and monitoring. So let's see what labs we have for the Azure apps in the containers. This VPN is not working. Let's look at this. What we have here in Azure application, uh, the labs what we have for AZ 104. from the link actually. We have 2, 3 labs only in this one. Let's see what we have. It's mainly about the Azure application, Azure apps. So, see where we have it. We have about container. Right. So let's do this lab. In this we have Azure App Service Plan, Azure App Services, Container Instance, and Container Apps. So let's look at these labs one by one. Configure Azure App Service Plan. We have here. Okay, this is better. These exercises are really good. You can try build a containerized web application with Docker. You can try it on your machines. You can try, let's see here. Exercise retrieve an existing Docker image, which is deployed locally. So to start here with this, run Docker container with Azure instances. Customize Docker image, customize image, and let's see. Let's look at the application app service first. Also, web application with Azure App Service. So in this, you learn basically uh, use the Azure portal to create Azure App Service web app. Use developer tool to create the code for a starter web application. Deploy your Azure App Service, the code with App Service. Create a web app in the Azure portal. We'll follow this exercise. Okay, create a web app. Let's go to the resource Azure portal. So this one. If we look for app services here in Azure, and we use create web app. So look at this here. You have an option to create a web app plus database, WordPress on app service. These are the different type of applications you can create for your web application or any application which you want to host on Azure. So if you have a two-tier application wherein you have a front end and the back end, application code running in the front end and database in the back end, you can do that. So that is multi-tier architecture application. Here we are trying just with the web app, simple web app. That's what we are going to see. Yeah, just follow this. Let's create it in Cloud DC. That's the resource group we have. Select the subscription resource group and then enter a name. The name of your web app, this name becomes part of the app URL. So this is the default URL you get for your application, which you can access over the internet. So any name, app name dash hash dot region dot Azure, it will add that name. So you can see here. So Azure website.net. So whatever name you give for your app, so I'll say cloud app. This is my application name. It's already used, I think. Okay. And then it's also giving you the location region where it is used. So Canada Central. This with this name, there's already an application running in Canada Central. So we'll name it uh, my web. That's also used. Bootcamp. Maybe that's also used. Okay, that's available. That's the test application we are creating. The name of the app has to be unique. The code, the method you want to use to publish your application. When publishing an application as a code, you must also configure runtime stack. So your code, you have to select on which runtime stack it will run. So I'm going to use the code. Here you see you have an option when you're creating the web app, you can create with the code, you can host it, which you have developed, or you can use the container and deploy the container as a web app. So here we are trying to use the code, okay, and it's going to use .NET 8 as a run stack, 8 LTS, sometimes stack operating system. We have to choose the operating system. It's going to be Linux. Code which we are hosting is going to be running on Linux. So this Linux and Windows uh, servers, the operating system is managed by Microsoft in the background. So that is why it is called platform as a service. You don't have access to the operating system itself. You have an option to run your application on one of these operating systems, right?
How this is entertaining?
Okay, so choose the region. We are going to choose central region here, central US. Okay. So that's where our server will be running in this region. Linux plan, accept default. This is the plan we are going to use the default plan here. So you can see that this is the pricing plan. Application also has a plan similar to your virtual machines, but the cost will be much more lesser than your actual the virtual machine cost. Because you're not building the whole virtual machine and running on your own. You're just deploying your code on Azure App Service. Okay, so accept default pricing plan. We're going to use free plan. Where's the pricing plan? And let's see if we have the free plan. Okay, let's continue. Free plan, review and create. So that's going to be our first application on Azure Platform as a Service. Review your web app. create. But we have not got any code, right? There's no code we have deployed on this app. We're just creating an app. So maybe there's a default code running on it. We'll see. So once it is created, we can actually check access our app and check what is running on it. So it should be running a default web app. Okay, let's go to the resource. You can see that your Bootcamp app is ready. And this is the name it is assigned. So if you're running developing this app for your own website, you will be using your own website, not this URL which is given by Microsoft. Let's try and access it. What is there on this app we have deployed? Okay. So where is it? We got it. Yeah. So you can see that your web app is running now and waiting for your content. This is the default page configured on that web app which we have deployed. So now this, instead of this, it should be running your actual code, right? So how do we deploy the code now? We'll see that. The next step, prepare the web app application code. Okay, in this unit, you learn how to create the code for your web application and integrate it into a source control repository. So if you are a web developer, it will be easy for you to develop this code. Now what we are doing is bootstrap a web application. Now that you created the resources for deploying your web application, you have to prepare the code you want to deploy. There are many ways to bootstrap a new web application. So what we learn here might be different to what you are used to. So the goal is to see how it is working. Quickly provide you a starting point to complete the deployment. Right. So in this, what we are doing, all the code and commands shown on this page are only for explanation purpose. Okay. The .NET command, adding your code to the source control. Okay. So basically, it is giving the step to exercise the code deployment. So let's see what code we are writing. Create a new web project. So it's asking us to run this. We are creating the application now. Let's see. Where are we creating it in the Azure portal itself? Let's understand what we're doing here. So we created a web app. Now we are write code to implement a web application and then deploy your code to the application. So these are the steps you will have to follow when you are deploying, when you want to host your web application on the portal. Right. So coding, where exactly we're writing this code, I think that is showing in the Azure itself. The command creates a new folder named Best Bike to hold your project to test your app locally. You need .NET SDK install on your system. So we don't have that right now on our system. I don't have .NET SDK installed. So we are not going to see this creating the code, how we can create the code. Then we have size deploying the code itself. Deploy with AZ web app deploy. So once you have the code ready, now you can go to the Azure CLI and you can deploy that code here as your deployment. So this is the application which is used for testing and showing. So this exactly shows you how you can host your application. Very straightforward. You don't have to build the whole infrastructure, deploy the virtual machines, and then build your code and host that code on the virtual machine, right? So that you can straight away go ahead with Azure Application Web App, Azure App Service Plan, and host your application without worrying about the infrastructure details. So let's see what we have next. Uh, so we have seen how to host the web application on Azure App Service. So we have some more demos here. Build and store container images with Azure Container Registry. Run Docker containers with Azure Container Instance. Okay, so I don't want to get into these labs now. I would suggest you to practice it. Create web app. We have seen creating the web app. We can see this as well. Configure Azure Container Instance, or we can skip this. We can skip this as well. The labs, I would suggest you do it on your own. I've shared the lab details before as well. We can continue with these slides and cover the next topics. So there are too many. There are many labs available. You can practice all your topics, whatever we are discussing, and that will be your homework for this bootcamp basically. So let's look at what we have in the backup and recovery topic. This is again one of the important topic we have. Right. So what do we see in this topic? What do we learn? Designing and administering data protection is about keeping data safe, available, and recoverable, even during failures, cyber attacks, or disasters. Okay. So we learn introduction to Azure backups, protect your virtual machine, how we can protect virtual machines with the Azure backups, design a business continuity solution. So it's important that you understand why the backups are required, what is backup, and how backups will aid us in data protection, right? So there are two things here which we are talking: data classification and policy design. So the first thing you have to understand is identify what data is critical for your organization, right? If you are trying to protect the data, which data you have to protect. Now you can't back up each and every file on your whole infrastructure, right? You need to decide which data is important for your business to function. This is part of the business continuity, strategy. That the data which is critical for your business to function has to be backed up properly. So you need to identify the data. So what kind of data you're trying to protect, right? There's a PII, personal identifiable information, financial data, business critical application data. You have to define the retention period for the data when you back up. Now, when you're talking about the backup, if you back up, let's say your organization is having 1 terabyte of data, and you have to back it up. So you need to look at the same capacity of the storage available in your backup, right? So everything comes down to the numbers. It's about the money which you are spending on the backups. So you will have to plan it carefully. You have to decide. That's why the classification of data is very important. That what data you want to back up. What is the data which, if it is unavailable, is going to stop your business and it's going to affect your business continuity. So that is the key factor here when you decide to back up something, right? You don't want to back up each and everything and then spend hundreds of dollars just for protecting data which is of no use for your company or the organization, right? And then after the backup, For how long you want to keep that backup? Uh, you cannot keep it forever, right? You have to make use of it. Uh, how do you decide that? So uh, in most of the organizations, this is if it is an enterprise organization, if it is a banking, uh, you know, company. So these terms, the retention periods and the backup frequency will be defined by the regulatory authority. So every country will have a regulatory authority which tells you if all the banks for example, in UAE, they will have some certain regulations to follow from the central bank that your data should be backed up on this frequency, daily, weekly, monthly, and then you should maintain that backup data for, let's say, 5 years. So these numbers, this comes down. Mainly, this is the driving force. One of the driving force mainly is regulatory authorities, right? So if you're a banking company, you have to adhere to those regulations and make sure that you follow those regulations and maintain your backups, and uh, you should be able to restore it and keep the data for 5 years, for example. And if these are small companies, then it will be completely up to you or the business owners, basically the business owners who will tell you that this is the important data what I have, and this data has to be at least available for so many years, and it should be recoverable. So retention period, backup frequency, and who should have access to that backup is also important. So this basically align with compliance, ISO, GDPR, SOC, etc. Backup strategy. What is the strategy you implement for protecting for the data loss protection? So this is data loss protection, not data loss prevention, right? There are two different concepts we have in data protection. One is data leakage prevention, wherein you protect your data going out from your organization and making sure that only the authorized people are able to access it and edit it and view it. That's part of the data leakage prevention. So this is we are talking about data loss protection, right? So these are two different things you need to understand. Data leakage prevention is about the privacy of the data. Data loss protection is about the protection of the data in terms of which will help you to recover your business in the case of disaster. So backup strategy, you have to decide what backups you need. You need regular backups, daily, weekly, and what is the rule you want to follow for the backup? This is one of the traditional oldest rule followed for the backup. 3-2-1 rule. What does it mean? That means you maintain 3 copies of the data on 2 different media types and one offsite. That's why it's called 3-2-1. Okay, and I'll explain you this further. Test restores regularly. This is often skipped but critical. So most of the companies they perform the backups, but this part always uh, is ignored. It's always ignored. Almost everyone ignores this because whatever you're backing up, you should be able to restore it and see if the data is in a healthy state, right? That's an important part of the backup strategy. So keep 3 copies of data means keep 3 copies of data. That's the 3-2-1 rule on 2 different storage types with 1 copy stored offline. I'll explain this further in the next slides. We have it. Small started behaving again. One second. Right. So here we are talking about copies of data, 3 copies of data, and then media type. So if you follow this rule, 3-2-1 rule, 3 copies. That means primary data, which is on the systems now. Excuse me, excuse me for 2 minutes. There's a call to prayer happening here. We'll resume after that. Okay, guys, we'll continue for next 5 minutes, then we'll break for half an hour. Okay, I was explaining you about the backup strategy, backup rule 3-2-1. This is what it means. 3 copies of data has to be maintained. Primary data, which is on the server, backup copy, so location on-prem server, backup copy, local backup server on the backup server basically. Then the third copy, and you can see the media. 3 copies. We are talking about 3 copies in different locations: on-prem server, local backup server, and cloud backup or offsite. 2 media. We are talking about 2 different medias used for the backup. Uh, Primary data will be on disk definitely. The local copy can be on the disk, and third copy can be on cloud storage or on the tape. This was the traditional rule followed mostly 3-1. Now this is modified. This rule is changed, and it has now become 3-2-1. And then I think it's my +1 here. There's one added, and 0. That means 3 copies on 2 different media, one offsite and one immutable backup. So basically, these two can be combined. One offsite and immutable. What does it mean, immutable? Immutability ensures backup data cannot be altered or deleted before its retention period, protecting it from ransomware and insider attacks. So this is very important these days. We keep hearing the stories about the ransomware attacks, wherein your data is being encrypted or destroyed completely, and which you cannot recover. So it is nowadays all the backup solutions come with this option to make your backup to keep an immutable backup copy, which cannot be which cannot be altered. And backup solutions are coming with this technology called WOM, write once, read many. This is the technology is one of the main ways immutability is implemented. Okay, and 0 means verified, that whatever you're backing up is verified, your data is valid and available in case of a disaster. Now, these are the different medias. You can, I hope you remember CDs. In early 90s, we used to get CDR, recordable CDs, wherein you can only write data once, right? Those also used to function as immutable copies of your data. So if you have anything that stored on the CD, which is recordable, not rewritable, just recordable, you can write it once, and then you can read many times, right? So that was one of the cheapest backup media available in early days, early 90s. But it's not a viable solution anymore because there's a limited storage available on CDs, and this is the CDs can be destroyed very easily. So for offsite backups, these are the this is the image of the tapes. I don't know if you have seen it in the real time. It looks exactly like the old video cassettes, uh, which will have the reel inside it. So these are used for offset backups. And this, what you see on the right side, uh, sorry, I was not using the pointer. So these are tapes basically. It's like a cassette. And you can see here, this is called tape library, which will have the loads of tapes inside it. So this library will be mainly operated by the backup softwares. So I'll explain you on the whiteboard how the backup softwares are deployed in the real time. Okay, so you can see here storage media. If it is CD or DVD, average lifespan is 5 to 30 years. It was very good in those days. It was cheap, but degrade faster. The CDs degrade faster. If you get any scratch on the CDs, those are useless. Hard disk drives, when you have mechanical hard disk, for example, as hard disk drive like SS, not SSD, sorry, the fuzzy drives. it will have mechanical parts and there is lifetime more span on that. These days, you're getting solid state drives, the fast drives, like the flash drives, right? Uh, but there's a risk. SSDs are mainly suggested to use for operating system for the fast read-write access, not recommended for the backups. And then we have magnetic tapes, LTO, the one which I've shown you. These are magnetic tapes you're seeing in this. Those are the that is the medium which is still used widely for maintaining the offsite backups. So best for long-term archival if stored correctly, right? So we'll continue after half an hour break. We'll stop here. So the prayer, I'll take half an hour break and continue. Okay, I'll see you after half an hour break. Thank you. Okay, guys, welcome back. Let's continue and conclude our session today. Okay, so I've just figured out that the VPN client, point to site connectivity, what I was trying to show you earlier in the cloud, in this setup itself, with the one which you're downloading, point to site connection. I'll just tell you. This download VPN client used to include the software as well as the configuration file. So now in this, we are just as we have seen, we're just getting the configuration files. I'll show you that. So basically, you're just getting configuration file for different version of VPN clients. Okay, so we can try using this. For this, you need to install the Azure client software. If you go to Microsoft Azure, sorry, Microsoft Store on your machines, I hope you can hear me. And you're able to see the screen, or I'm not sharing it. No.
No.
Okay.
We can hear you, but screen
Yes.
it's loading.
So I'm sharing it now. So what you have to do is, what I was trying to show that we have done the configuration. The point to site configuration is very simple. In Azure, you have seen that you have to just define the IP address pool, which your VPN clients will use. You have to choose the tunnel type and then authentication type. So we are using the certificate-based authentication, and we have created two certificates, root certificate, which we copied from our machine. In real-time scenarios, you will be having the certificate purchased from the certificate authorities, and that certificate one will be installed on your VPN gateway here, and one on your local machine. So this part was returned. This is okay. We downloaded the VPN configuration files, and for the VPN software itself, you have to go to Microsoft Store, which is like an app store and the Google Play Store from Microsoft. And here you have Azure VPN client. You go here and you can see that there is Azure VPN client available, and I have just installed it. It's so simple. Once you install, you get this VPN client, app available on your machine. Now we can test. What you have to do is you have two options: add a VPN connection. When you click add, you have to provide all these parameters, configuration settings, and everything. So that's why Microsoft is giving you the configuration file itself, so that you don't have to configure it manually. You can just simply import the file. For example, this file, which we have downloaded, Azure VPN, and it will have all the parameters in it. The only thing which you have to select here is client certificate. So these are the two certificates which we created here. If you remember, I'll show you from the certificate manager for an RPR. So this is a certificate manager tool available on all the Windows platforms, Windows operating systems. And you remember we created these two certificates from PowerShell command line. And one of the certificate was the root certificate, which we uploaded on the VPN point to set configuration. And the other one belongs to your client certificate. So this is your client certificate. So we have to select point to site child certificate. Okay, and just save this configuration. Configuration is saved. Now, when you click connect, it should connect to your VPN gateway. So let's see what is happening. Yes, that's your VPN is connection is established now. This is your point to site connection. You can see it has received an IP address from the range which we have provided, right? And you will have access to your VPN VNet, which is 10.1.0.0/16, right? So if you look at the configuration, so we have configured point to site connection on this Cloud DC tenant. Here you see this is your IP range. So now what it means is that you from your machine you will be able to access. Let me bring up the whiteboard. You will be able to access this virtual machine, this server. So let's try and check that. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going to the RDP and have to get the IP address of the server. What is the IP address? Let's look at the virtual machine IP address. Cloud VM. And okay, so we'll see. This is the IP address, private IP of my virtual machine. Okay, it's not 0.0.0.10.104, right? Let's try to connect to that virtual machine. Yes, so that's the access to your virtual machine. Let's log in with our ID, username, password. Cloud VM. Right. So our VPN, at least the point to site VPN is working. Side to side, we were not able to see, but the point to point VPN connection is working. So this is very, very simple. Actually, it's supposed to be simple. So now you have seen the last method of accessing your Azure resources from the VPN from your own machine. So I'm connecting to the Azure resources now directly from my client PC. So if you go back to your, let's verify this. You can see that this is a server. Okay, we are on the cloud VM, right? And how we are connected? We connected through our VPN connection, point to site VPN connection. So this was the last method I wanted to show you how we can access the Azure resources. So if I go back to the whiteboard, this is what I've explained you. You can access your VM through RDP directly but that requires a public IP address. And you know that we are not using the public IP here, and we have not deployed the Bastion host. We have not got the site-to-site VPN yet. If we have the site-to-site VPN from this VM, which is in on-prem data center, we should be able to do RDP to this VM directly. Now we have seen the last method, point-to-site VPN. So this is the machine, which is my laptop here, which has already the internet access. And what I've done is I've just installed the VPN client software and configured my VPN client software so that it can connect to my VPN gateway on cloud PC, cloud data center. And from there, I can access the server or any resource which is available within this network. So it is showing you that you have access to this whole subnet, right? You can see that VPN routes, you have access to this complete subnet and this range as well. This is our VPN client pool which we have defined. Okay, so that concludes our point-to-site connectivity demo. Side to side, I will try to check. I have used many resources, therefore I'm not able to complete that task. I will clean up the resources, set up side to side VPN tunnel, record a video and upload it on the YouTube channel so that you can see it later. But you have pretty much everything you have seen step by step, the process. You have all the information with you, to make your side to side VPN connection successful. You can try it on your own as well. I'm going to share the document as well, which will be helpful for you in the real time in order to set up the side to side connection, what all parameters you need, the device information, public IP address, and then phase one, phase two parameters for the encryption and hashing, and then the IP ranges which are used on both the sides. Okay, so let's disconnect this VPN and we'll continue our slideshow. Right, so we were here on the backup. Backup is one of the very important topics. Usually in enterprise network, there are dedicated roles for the backups. You will find backup administrators who will be responsible for taking care of the data backup and restore testing. So let's continue, and then I'll explain you on the whiteboard how the backups are configured in the real-time scenarios, in on-prem scenarios, exactly. So here, it's very important for you to understand a few things here. We have the concepts of high availability, right, and disaster recovery. HA and DR, this is something which you have to remember. HA and DR keeps systems running, okay? Backups recover data. So these two things are totally different. They solve different problems, right? So if you have high availability, it protects against hardware and service failure, does not protect against data corruption or deletion, right? This is something which you have to understand. Disaster recovery, it can be a site or region failure. And again, that does not protect you from ransomware or bad data replication. I'll explain you on the whiteboard what it means. Then you have backups. Backups for protection from data loss. The cause can be anything. It can be a root, the ransomware attack, data theft, or data corruption, whatever it is, and does not protect against real-time availability. That means your backups will be there. They'll be you'll have the backup, but if there's anything you need on the real time, backups will not be available on the real time. You have to restore the data and then use it. So the important point to remember that at the end, no backup equals no recovery. Even with the best HA and DR design, if you don't have backup, your data is gone. Your data is not protected, and you lose the data. Uh, let's see what we have next. Now it comes to Azure backup and things. So let me explain you on the whiteboard. The concepts which I am trying to explain you, HA, DR, and backups. So I hope this is clear. This one, this is major. This was our major activity, setting up the side-to-side VPN and the point-to-side VPN. So now I'll create a new one, new whiteboard.
Bicycle. I don't know when.
Okay, so we are discussing HA, ER, the backup. As I explained you, each one of this is different. The HA is about high availability that we have seen high availability using the load balancers, right? So if you have a web server, let's say two web servers, virtual machine
We
one.
cannot see your screen.
Oh, sorry. I'm still sharing it full screen. 1 second. Let me reshare it. Okay, I think there's a split screen happening. Okay, now you should be able to see the screen now. So we're talking. We're just trying to understand the concept, the difference between HADR and the backup. So you have VM1 and VM2, both running the web server. So we have seen that if you want to make your web server highly available, you have to maintain, as an administrator, you have to maintain that the same contents are available on both the servers. Okay, it should have the same content, the same application web app running, and you can use something called load balancer, right? Load balancer. I will not write everything. Let's keep it short. So I can deploy a load balancer which will have a front-end IP address you have seen and back-end IP addresses, back-end pool. Basically, back-end pool. You can call it back-end pool. And this, what does it do? When your users are connecting, they'll be connecting to the front-end IP address over the internet, right? Let's say this IP is 1.1.1.10. So they'll be connecting to
Wait,
this.
screen is not coming.
Still not coming?
Yes, sir. Yeah, still the
I
screen is.
did the full share. 1 second. Screen share. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Now we can
Okay,
see.
fine. So this we have seen before as well. So I'm just trying to address this part first. Actually, so how we achieve high availability? We if we have two web servers, here you take an example of virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2 running the web application and having the same content. Now, in order to make this web application or the website which you're running highly available, you will deploy something called a load balancer on your in your environment. So, for example, my website is abc.com, and that this is my public IP address. Okay, so load balancer, you have seen the configuration. There is a front-end IP address on the load balancer which will face the public network that means to the internet, and it will have a public IP assigned, and there will be a backup backend pool, which will be a pool of web servers, right? So load balancer does the job of making this web application highly available. So it does load balancing as well as it gives you the high availability in case of a VM1 down. Your web application will still be available and accessible from VM2. This is the concept of high availability. Now, in this scenario, if you lose any data, for example, uh, there's a data loss. You as an administrator or the application admin or the web administrator accidentally deletes the data on the website. The whole website data is gone. What will happen? If you're having two copies of data, you're good, you're safe here still. You have the same content available and your application is highly available, right? But let's say you have a data corruption. Now, if you have this, usually what will happen is if you're having this scenario, you will make sure that this data is consistent across both the servers, right? For example, let me explain you this. Okay. So what in the real time happens is you will have this content synchronized from a repository. For example, you have a repository from where you're continuously copying this content to both the websites, web servers. So in order to maintain the same configuration and the settings. So your administrators, sorry, web developers or application developers will have access to this data, right? All the content will be here. So if this data is corrupted, let's say there's a accidental deletion or corruption on the data, or there's a ransomware attack and your data is completely encrypted. So this part of the data, this is the actual source of your data. So if this is completely gone, if this is corrupted, your there is a continuous replication happening from this repository to your web servers. So the same data will be transferred and copied to both the web servers, right? So you have the corrupted data, the same corrupted data will be available on VM1 and VM2. Although you have the HA available, high availability, when users are accessing your website, the website is looking something different. They might be seeing, what do you say, defaced website. Let's say someone hacked your repository and they changed the website content. So users will be seeing, this is called defacing the website. So they say they see some other content other than your company's content. So in order to bring down your organization's reputation, this is one of the motive of that. Or there might be a ransomware attack wherein your data is encrypted and the same encrypted data is transferred to VM1 and VM2. And when the user access the website, they might see XYZ garbage, or they'll not see anything loaded on the web page. So that is also a possible scenario. So HA, as you see, does not protect your data. It only makes your data highly available. That means if your service highly available, not even data, your service, it's about the service, making your service highly available. I hope that is clear. So now in this scenario, the only protection what you have is the backup, right? So if your repository, this repository what you're having here, if this is being backed up regularly, right? Daily or weekly, depending on your week backup strategy, your data will be still safe here. You'll have the actual data which is stored in the backup and which you can restore easily to in order to restore your service. This is one scenario. So HA does not uh, provide you data protection. That's one thing. Let's take one more scenario. This is a high availability scenario. Let's say I have a disaster recovery side also. That means I have one more site. This is in my East US region. And I have a similar setup. When you talk about DR site, disaster recovery, the disaster recovery is actually it is for you to help in case of the whole disaster in the region. If this complete East US is down, this data center is down, is there's a natural what do you say, calamity or something which brings your data center down. In that scenario, you have your disaster recovery site available, and let's say this is in West US. Okay, you will have mostly the replica of your same setup, or you might have only one single server. It depends on your budget, company's budget as well, how much they can maintain in the DR. So this DR will be completely idle unless there's any issue in the primary data center. The DR will be activated only in such scenario. So let's say your complete site is down, then what happens? Your services will be redirected to this. There will be load balancer again here. It will be exactly the same scenario. I mean, same setup, similar setup. The only thing is that from the DNS side, you can use different solutions like Traffic Manager we have seen, or front door service from Microsoft. You can check the availability of this data center, keep checking this. If this service is down, then your website request will be redirected here. Okay. So this is your disaster recovery site. So you have high availability on within the site. You have disaster recovery across different regions, different locations. Now, let's look at this scenario. So your disaster recovery is mainly the copy of the production data, right? So whatever you have here is being synchronized. There's a synchronization happening. Whatever change you do in the primary side, it has to be available on the disaster recovery. Either it is real time or you do it daily in the night every day in order to maintain your DR site availabilities, right? So if your site goes down, you want to make sure that all the data is available here and your DR is activated and everything is up and running. So in this same scenario again, if the data is corrupted, the main repository is corrupted, it is compromised, it is ransomed, there's a ransomware attack. So this data, whatever is coming to the web servers, the same data will be synchronized to this side as well, right? So you will have the same corrupted copy of data on these web servers too. So you see the importance of backup. So neither the high availability nor the disaster recovery will help you in recovering your data. So backup is the only solution which is available, which helps you in recovering your data. So that's why it is called data protection, right? Backup is your data protection solution. Is that clear? These two scenarios. HA is for high availability. The disaster recovery side is for complete site, resiliency. If the one side goes down, the other side will be still available and serving, making sure that your services are available online and users are able to access it. Backup, backup covers actually gives you the protection in both the scenarios. So overall, you can say that backup is one of the necessity of every organization, and you have to have a proper backup solution in place which can protect you from this type of disasters. I hope that is clear. Now, I'll just explain you simply how the backup systems are working. So in the real-time scenario, if it is your on-prem setup or in the cloud, the backup scenarios will be similar. Let's say I have my on-prem setup. So in the organizations, what you will have is you'll have your servers, domain controller, the application server, the file servers, and so on. But mainly the file servers will be the one where your actual data will be stored. So, and then your domain controller also plays an important role because that holds all the identity data, users and groups what you have created in order. So you would have a dedicated server configured as a backup server. Now this backup server will be same as other servers. It can be a Windows server or Linux servers. This will have there's a strategy, a backup strategy. It's called disk to disk. This is one. Then disk to tape. This is another backup strategy. Disk to disk, disk to tape. So this first one is it is called short-term data protection. Short-term backup or data protection, and long-term backup of data protection. So what happens is in the real time, I'll explain you because why we have this disk to disk, disk to disk to tape. Sorry, tape. This is tape. So this is hard disk. You can say hard disk on the server, right? This can be a hard disk drive on your storage. If you have the storage, and this can be a tape. So these are three different medias, right? So usually what happens is the servers, this server backup server will have uh, storage assigned. There will be a local storage. There will be a huge, let's say 1 TB of storage available on this server. So this server will need backups. Any backup solution if you take, there will be agent running, backup agent running on all your servers, on all your critical servers which you have to backup. So there will be a backup agent, a client software running on all the machines. So there can be a real-time backup which is happening. All the data is being backed up on real time, or there can be scheduled backups as well. So both the scenario, in both the scenarios, what will happen is if you have this backup to disk, this setup, the backups will be faster because this to this copy is faster than disk to tape. Writing tape to the tape takes time. So usually what happens is this is called short-term backup, and from disk to tape, it happens for long-term backup. So this might be happening daily, and this might be happening weekly. And these tapes can be rotated. So 1 week backup, you can, let's say you can keep this weekly backup for 4 weeks. And then you can rotate these four tapes. Once in a month, you can store one of the tape on the offsite. So this is the backup strategy which is followed in most of the on-prem scenarios. Disk to disk, disk to tape. And the backup happens regularly on set intervals or in real time. They can be real time as well, but this is the setup usually. There's a short-term backup. That means from disk, from all the servers, it will copy the data to the disk. So this is short-term backup. For 1 week, it will keep here, and then this server will also have a tape library attached. I have shown you in the picture, right? So let's say this is a tape library, which is having a bunch of tapes installed in it, loaded in it, like cassettes, and it will perform every 1 week. It will take this backup data and copy it to the tape, which you can take it offline. So this is for the offline storage. So backups. This is in a nutshell how the backups work in the on-prem scenarios. Azure also has backup solutions, but you don't have any offsite copies there. Microsoft also gives you an option for offsite copy on request on demand. But this is how the backups work. I hope this is clear. You have any doubt here? We'll continue with the slides. So I hope this information is very important. It's very often people confuse with HADR and backup. Sometimes you might hear from some people, why do I need backup when I have the HA and disaster recovery? And you've seen in the scenario in the whiteboard explanation clearly that backup is absolute necessity, right? You can't. There's no. It's not an optional thing. So even though you have HA high availability, you have disaster recovery, you still need backup in order to protect data from corruption and deletion, accidental deletion, and from these ransomware attacks. So that's what you need to understand and remember. So let's continue with slides here. Okay. So Azure also provides you backup solutions. There's a built-in backup available. You can backup virtual machines. Second, let me run this. Yeah, you can back up the virtual machines. You can back up Azure Managed Disk. You can back up the file shares which you create on Azure Storage. You can back up SQL Server in Azure. all different kind of systems you can back up. And there are backup agents available, like I've explained you on-prem scenario. You can deploy the agent, Azure backup agent, on-prem files for on-prem files protection, folders protection, and system safe data. So if you don't have on-prem backup solution, you can use Azure also as a backup solution for your on-prem systems. But this works in hybrid connectivity model only, because you need to have a site-to-site VPN connection between your Azure and the on-prem systems. Then you can deploy the agents and you can back up the data to the Azure backup service, right? So Azure backup service provides you recovery point management. All of these features are available in Azure. So in Azure, it's not a backup server, dedicated server, it's a service itself. So it is a service which you are using for backing up. So how Azure backup works? There's a vault and policies. There's a management plane. Azure backup is managed centrally through backup center. So in the portal, you will see backup center, to which you can do all these backup operations. You can do it through Azure portal, SDK, or CLI as well. So resources means the servers which you are trying to protect, the data on the servers which you are trying to protect. Those resources are being there will be resources you have to define. You have to define the backup policy, and then vault and the recovery points. So this is the process in Azure backup. So what is the vault? Vault stores backup copies, recovery points, backup policies. Vaults also provide monitoring and metrics, centralized backup management. There are two types of vaults in Azure available. You know the vault, right? In general terminology, in the bank, there are vaults where you have your gold and uh, cash stored. So similarly, Azure, you have recovery service vault, and there's a different purpose for each. Used for virtual machine backups and on-prem workload backups. So there are two different kind of vaults available on Azure services. There's a recovery service vault and there's a backup vault used for newer data protection scenarios. What does it mean? Now you have many different options with Azure for compute options, right? You can have your data on the web applications. Now that web application is not the actual web server which you are managing. It's an application which you're using on platform as a service model. So with the help of Azure Backup Vault, you can back up the data from applications as well. Okay. So you have again the difference between these two: recovery service vault and backup vault. Recovery service vault is VM focused, infrastructure backups, snapshot backups, older, widely used. This is a widely used backup service from Azure. Backup vault, data centric, platform native backups, service integrated, newer model backups. So this is mainly for Azure services, which are like Azure App Service, containers, and so on. Right, example, Azure blob storage backups, disk backups, direct disk protection, platform as service based workflows. These services do not need VSS, do not need OS level backup agents. So yeah, so when you're trying to back up the services, Azure services itself, like for example, Azure storage. Azure storage is a platform as a service, right? You're just creating a storage, configuring the storage and storing your data. So how do you back up that data? You can't install the Azure backup agent on that. You're having a backup solution, not just Azure. If you have any other backup solution which you're having on-prem, you can't deploy a backup agent on that particular Azure storage to back up the data which you are storing there. So for that purpose, you have to use Azure backup service and a backup port, which can back up your data from Azure services basically. Typical use cases: recovery service vault, Azure virtual machines, on-prem servers. Again, it's repeating the same thing. Backup vault, Azure blob storage, Azure disk, modern platform as a service data services. Again, to simplify, recovery service vault, server and VM backups, backup vault, modern data centric backups. These are two different vaults available on Azure backup services. Use Azure Business Continuity Center. This is a snapshot you see from the Business Continuity Center. You can use this for monitoring all the backup activities happening on the Azure. So how do you protect the virtual machine data? There are different options. You can take a snapshot of the virtual machine. Azure backups, so you can take the contents of the file and folder level backup you can perform. Azure Site Recovery. Azure Site Recovery protects your VMs from a major disaster scenario, and a whole region experiences an outage. So Azure Site Recovery also provides you the site level redundancy. So that means it creates a copy of the virtual machine in a different region. So how do you back up the virtual machine? Create a recovery service role. Use a portal to define the backup policies. Back up the virtual machine. Then Azure also provides the soft delete function. That means when you delete any data, backup data is retained for 14 additional days. You can, it's like a, what do you say, the bin, the recycle bin on your machine that provides similar service. Site recovery, you can see here how the site recovery works. Manage the orchestration of the disaster recovery. Replicate workloads continuously from a primary location or region to a secondary location. Failover to shift to the secondary location, fail back to return. So the complete operation is taken care by Azure Site Recovery. So this is again a service from Microsoft, which you can use to replicate the whole region to another region. So you don't have to build everything from scratch and configure. You can copy the whole region Azure components, virtual machines, databases, everything to the secondary region, and it continuously keeps updating that. And you can see, as I told you, the traffic manager is a component which does monitor the site level availability. So it keeps checking, like a load balancer checks the virtual machines, right? Traffic manager checks the actual sites, region 1 and region 2. Which site, if region 1 is unavailable due to any disaster, it will fail over automatically to region 2. And that's the end of backups. Let's see what else we have left. There's a bit about monitoring as well. Let's see what we have in the monitoring part. Okay, this is going to be quick. I hope we can complete it and wrap up this bootcamp itself. There are demos labs available on data production as well, which I would suggest you to try on your own. Then we have something called Azure Monitor. This is again a service from Azure, which you can use for monitoring. So Azure Monitor is a comprehensive monitoring solution for collecting, analyzing, and responding to monitoring data from your cloud and on-premises environments. So Azure Monitor provides you the option to monitor Azure resources as well as if you are having a hybrid cloud setup. You can also deploy the Azure Monitor agents on-prem servers to monitor the Azure those servers. So what does it do? The Azure Monitor collects and aggregates the data from every layer and component of your system across multiple Azure and non-Azure subscriptions. High-level architecture, Azure Monitor can monitor these types of resources. It can monitor the applications, virtual machine, containers, databases, and so on. So this is how this is the Azure Monitor dashboard. You can see what all it can collect the data from. These are the data sources, application workloads, infrastructure, containers, operating system, platform. From the platform, you have Azure resources. And you can also monitor the on-prem services as well. So this is the complete Azure dashboard. From the Azure platform, you can monitor, you can get the data from these sources. Because for monitoring data, data source is important. You should be getting the data, then you can monitor. So what usually monitors? What does it do? on all this data collection, what it is getting from these different data sources, data collection, routing, and transform, data platform. It does metrics, logs, traces, changes, everything it records. From those logs, it will segregate this data. So it will give you the insights on application, container, VM, network, the health of the virtual machines. You can visualize the data as well. You can create dashboards. You can use Power BI and different tools for visualization. You can analyze the data. You can do log analytics, change analysis. You can see if there are any issues, any for troubleshooting. Also, this data will be helpful, and you can also respond to the incidents. For example, if there is any server which is running high on CPU and memory, if it is over utilized and so the server might shut down. So before that happens, this data based on your configuration, it can respond to that event. What it can do, it can send an alert as well to the administrator in order to notify that the server is being highly utilized, and it can crash if it continuously goes 100% utilization. It might crash, or you can also respond. Okay, if the server is going 100% or 90% utilization, if it reaches, you can set the rules for auto scaling. So add one more VM, and that will distribute the load onto virtual machines. So that's where Azure monitoring might help you. So this is again the explanation on that. It can monitor and visualize metrics. Okay, core monitoring for Azure services. Query and analyze logs. You can query the logs, and you can set up alerts and actions. So you can automate set the automated actions as well. And you can improve the incident response with alerting on Azure. If any incident happens, like for example, I gave you an example of the CPU utilization or memory utilization or anything else. You can set any monitoring parameters. So these are the Azure resources. It can monitor. It will be collecting data from all these resources, metrics and logs, and those will be evaluated. And then alert rules based on this rules. What you said. For example, here if you see condition average CPU 80%, signal CPU utilization. So based on these different parameters, alert settings, it will trigger the alert, create alert processing rule, action group. It can even take an action. What action you want? What action you want you want Azure Monitor to invoke? It can either send an email, send you a WhatsApp message, even call you. It can generate a call, and you can have some customized actions as well. For example, you can run a script, a customized script. If this condition occurs, what action you want this machine to take. It can kill the process or can shut down the virtual machine and whatever you like. Azure Monitor Alerts helps you detect and address issues. I've explained you that. And you can analyze the infrastructure using Azure Monitor logs. There are different modes in log analytics in Azure. Simple mode and KQL mode. This is actually a language, two-stroke query language, similar to SQL language, to work on the logs. So the logs which you are getting on the Azure Monitor is written in two-stroke query language. So it's similar to the SQL language. It's easier than the SQL language. You can understand. You can write the queries. So if you want to look for any specific data, you can write the query and get it from Azure Monitor. What is log analytics? It's again a service, and that it helps you collect and analyze data. So you can see log analytics segregates the data from Windows event logs. What do you get? You get the events from Linux servers. You get the 6-log messages from different machines. You can get different kind of logs, and it can perform the log analysis on that. And for that, to make use of Azure Logs analysis, you have to create the Azure Analytics workspace. It is similar to creating the Azure storage account. So you need uh, storage account mainly for storing that log, right? So whatever logs you collect from machines, those logs will be stored in the area called log analytics workspace. So you can create the workspace and you can define the log, the retention period, for how long you want to keep the logs and what you want to do with those logs. This is query log analytics data. There are different options available. If you run through some of the labs, you will see how you can run the queries on Azure logs available on the Azure Log Analytics. So this is an example here, structured log analytics queries. You can write the queries like this. For example, here you're writing a query event type, assist log. You're looking for a specific error. You can so when you write the query, it will look for those specific errors on these two log sources from Windows and syslog. So similarly, you can write queries for different purposes for querying the logs on Azure log analytics. And that's the end of our slideshows. I hope this have been informative and helpful, whatever you have learned so far from the beginning. And I'd like to thank you for being with me on this long journey and being patient with me and bearing with me. So if you have any questions, any queries, this is going to be our last session today on this bootcamp. I will be available for any questions. You can approach me definitely on WhatsApp. I will retain that WhatsApp group for some time. So you can use that group or you can directly ping me on WhatsApp. And if you are preparing for the exams, I'll probably guide you through how to get through the exams. So really now it's up to you what is your direction and how you want to make use of this knowledge. Even if you don't, if you're changing the career, this is the time you can decide. You can add this learning to your career path and change your career. But I would recommend doing the certification. You don't have to do the Azure fundamental exam. That's totally optional. If you have decided a specific path, like for example, Azure Admin Associate, if you are going towards the administration part of the Azure platform, do the Azure AZ-104 exam that will definitely add value to your profile. That demonstrates that you know the stuff, and I'm sure you should be able to handle the Azure platform. So I've given you the building blocks. I've given you the information which is critical and very important to understand and handle the Azure cloud environment. And the rest comes with the experience, right? So the more you practice, the more you do the labs, it will be much more clear for you how these things works. Any questions from anyone? Or we can wrap up this session.
Thank you, Masood bhai. Thank you very much for your wonderful session for
Most
two
welcome.
months. Yeah, more than 2 months. Thank you. Really appreciate. So parallelly, I was as you advised, to go through the other videos also. Like I started going through the other videos. So in
Yeah.
that, I found one doubt is there, like regarding
Hmm.
fault domain and up domain.
Right.
If you want me to ask now, I will ask you. Otherwise, later, no problem. I will pin you one to one.
No problem. We can do it one to one because that requires some explanation. But again, fault domain and the what was that? The
Up
fault
domain,
domain update domain. It's not up domain.
update domain. Yeah, yeah, update.
Yeah, there's a fault domain and update domain. Those are all theoretical stuff. You don't see that. You can't control that from the Azure portal. This is this is for the understanding for your understanding how Microsoft takes care of this updates and maintenance windows on their infrastructure. So I'll explain you that again. No, not a problem. We can have a one-to-one section on that. Apart from that,
Okay.
anything else?
Nothing. I'm just started. So if I have any doubt, I will get back
You're
to you.
okay. Your review going back to the first initial sessions, I guess.
Yes, 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 yes. I
Okay.
started again.
Yeah, this will be helpful. I mean, whatever we have learned in this bootcamp, it's all available on my channel. All the sessions with all the explanation and everything. You can review, we can go slow, try to do the labs together. And yes, I hope this will be helpful in
Yeah,
whatever
inshallah,
way
inshallah.
you want to use, inshallah.
Yes, yes. Inshallah, if you have any upcoming session like trainings, please let us know regarding this network,
Yes, the
anything.
next one I'm planning on Azure security domain, security engineer track. So I'll let you know. I still
Okay,
have
sure.
time for that.
Okay, okay, done, done. Thank you,
Right?
Masood bhai. Thank you,
You're most
everyone.
welcome.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
the
guys.
session. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much for being on
Thank you,
this
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
journey. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir, for Azure like 104, can you
Right.
share the link for admin, sir, exam practice courses
Yes,
for
yes, I'll do that.
questions? Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yes, sir, yes. In that, they are giving more questions regarding the shell platform code, sir. That one.
Platform course in the, did you try any practice exams?
Yes, sir, I'm trying in that.
From which, from which platform?
Starting from basic, they are like first 10 questions they are
Hmm.
asking in our basic. After
Right.
that, they started asking in the command prompt like that questions they are giving, sir.
A real, okay. You might be having some simulation questions as well, wherein you have to know the command to type in, right?
Yes, yes, sir,
So
yes, yes.
yeah, fine.
So how we
I'll
can
share
learn
one
that, sir? We have to learn everything in that
that
command.
that that will come by practice. The commands definitely you have to understand the syntax. What see we have seen in our labs, we have seen that a virtual machine you can create through the portal, and you can also
Yes, yes,
create
sir.
through the shell, right? So for creating that virtual machine from the shell, you just need to understand the syntax of the command and what are the key parameters you need for creating the virtual machine. Like for example, you can't create the virtual machine without having a resource group already created, right? Or you can create the resource group while creating the virtual machine itself. So those are the things which you need to understand while you're practicing the command line, the shell basically. So those things you need to practice it. And exam, when it comes to exam, you can't really practice every question, every command on available on Azure CLI shell. You should know only specific command line. So the mock exams are mainly for that preparation. So you will get questions around those samples. So that I'll suggest you, I'll share that with you. So through
Okay,
that
sir.
you will
Okay.
be,
Thank you.
at least you will be able to prepare 50% you can rely on that and 50% on your knowledge and your understanding. So that way you need the passing score of around 700, I guess. So that should be, really helpful for you to cover your examination preparation, right?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you so much. And all this material I have shared already. I'll share the link again. The PPTs will be whatever I have shared in this code in this bootcamp. Uh, all these PPTs you can download. I'm going to share the link again from the OneDrive. So all these files, everything what you see here will be available there. So this one as well, the site-to-site VPN, what I've created. So you can probably practice this, put this on paper and pen and draw the networks, two networks, and try to establish a VPN connection. And point to site, we have seen today how it works. And what was the new one today? Yeah, site-to-site VPN terminal. This is the real-time scenario. So you can try practice these things. This document will be available, and you can make use of it for your real-time experience as well. All right. So that's it. I think if you don't have any more questions, you're always welcome to reach out to me on the WhatsApp. You can ping me and please you need to excuse me if we don't get a response quickly because I'm a working professional as well. So I have too many things. Most of the time I'm in operations, so most of my work starts on the weekend only. So I work on the weekend nights for maintenance and upgrade activities. So you might not get the response immediately. So I'll definitely respond to you, but there might be a delay. So just bear in mind that. Okay, then have a nice day ahead and the rest of the weekend. And when I'm starting the new session, new bootcamp, I'll definitely let you know. If you are interested, you can join that session as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.